Hello and welcome to Seven Story Publishing. I am Lisa Jakovsky and I am here today with author Ethan Tucky. How are you doing today?
I'm doing swell. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Oh, I'm super excited to talk. I was reading your bio before. You've got some really interesting books out. Which
I
one, or do
appreciate
you want
that.
to talk about all three?
Yeah, I'll do a brief overview of the three. So I have
Awesome.
Keep on Chopping, which is more for say visionaries, dreamers, entrepreneurs. If you're starting something for the first time, there's Roots of Resilience, which is more for like the if you like psychology and a little more of like a self-help book. It leans more into that. And then I have three Go Beyond Your Limit, 365 days of meditation motivation, which is kind of like maybe you wake up one day, not really feel like doing much or whatnot. Or if you just need to take five, say take some time away, reflect on something, that's kind of that the gist of that book there. So between the three of those, if you're a dreamer, if you like to, I guess, think, and if you like to have a little bit of extra inspiration during your day, that's what I got on the table at the moment.
Very interesting. What inspired you to write these almost non-traditional books? They're very different than any others I've kind of been talking about through these interviews. So I'd love to hear about that.
So honestly, I just had more or less some free time. I had kind of like I was at a crossroads of my life a little bit, and I had a couple of just say like months open, and I was like, what are some things I've always wanted to do? And that probably leans into why it's not like the traditional say book route, but it's one of those like I was like coach and athlete, I say former football player, and so I had a ton of notes, and it was kind of like, well, I've always wanted to write a book. I'm in the position for the first time in my life to actually sit down and write about it. And I have a lot of notes. How do I do this? And so, I guess what kind of inspired me to do it though was like, okay, I've all like pretty much had, if I was baking a cake, I had all the ingredients to bake the cake, and so I just went for it. And so that was kind of what kind of like sparked me into action was there's no better time to start than now. And I know everyone always says like there's no perfect opportunity, but I was like, this kind of is the perfect opportunity. So I was like, I might as well go for it.
I totally agree. Do you work in psychology? What made you go towards that?
So I don't work in it, but it was always kind of like a dream of mine. Like at the one day, many days from now, I do want to say be a licensed psychologist. So that's kind of like eventually, and maybe have my own independent practice. But it really came from my time in college, actually. I got my undergrad in psychology and my master's in applied behavioral analytics. And I wanted to go for this ID, but I didn't end up say having the clinical hours needed to get it. So it's kind of like the Roots of Resilience book was a way for me to kind of like one, it's a little bit of an homage to Jordan Peterson and his books, but at the same time for me, it was like, how do I stay up to date on current topics and say like therapeutic routes for whatever it might be? So it's kind of win-win. So it's kind of like I kind of do a little homage, but then kind of also stay up to date on topics I used to learn about all the time. So it was a really cool opportunity.
So you went to school for psychology, basically. No
Yes.
BCBA, you're not in the field?
Not yes, that was
That's
the one test that, actually I never ended up doing was for the BCBA route. That was like the next
Oopsie.
step for me. But then I was playing college football at the time. I didn't have the chance to get my clinical hours because I was, say, having practice and other stuff. And so when I got out of school, it was like, kinda need those hours, don't you? That's what I learned real quick. But at the end of the day, like, the Lord works in mysterious ways. I found where I am now, and I wouldn't change that for the world.
That's amazing. What do you do full time then?
So I actually run my own company at this moment. I started about a year ago. It's called Phalanx Digital. I help, say, grow passion projects and help with different startups. And I guess inadvertently through helping other people achieve their goals and dreams, and kind of going back to your like question, like what inspired me to do it is like I was able to work with a lot of people who were say writing books, children's books, so getting into poetry, maybe it's like life coaching, whatever it might be. But I that's back to your question though. That's what I do say full time at the moment though is pretty much just help people who are working on projects and watching it grow from there, which is a really cool thing to be able to do. Like it's hard not to wake up excited when you're helping people achieve their dreams every day. So
That's amazing, and that's not that far from psychology 'cause you're still in a helping part of the field,
yep,
and you still have
it's
to
scratching
get
the itch
that.
just a little different way.
Yeah, exactly, so getting that degree in ABA definitely probably helped with that, 'cause
Oh
it's
yeah.
not easy working with people.
Everyone's different.
That I agree with. You are self-published?
Yes. So the only say published work I have coming out at the moment is set to release. I believe it's next month. It's through a group called Legacy Publishing. I'm a featured author in their new book, Your Story Matters Too. So I'm really excited for that to drop. However, outside of that featured chapter coming out, everything else I have at the moment is self-published.
Amazing. Can you tell us about the self-publishing process?
It's a journey for anyone out there who's
Yeah.
going through it. You will learn everything about yourself, about publishing, about just everything in general. You learn so much. I don't say it's like the road less traveled by, but that kind of is what it is in this day and age. It's a lot of fun. You just got to find what works. I guess I'll kind of put it that way, because like if you go the self-publishing route, you have to do your own marketing, your own media. Say everything is on you, even if you want paperbacks, whatever it might be. So you will have to sort it out eventually. It's just going to take a lot of time. But I say that in an encouraging way, is as someone who had no background in, say, publishing or getting into it, I was able to make it work. And if I'm able to do it, I guarantee you can, because I'm not the brightest person in the room all the time. So take it with some optimism of where if you're an author out there trying to find that route, you can 100% do it. It just takes a lot of research, find what works, look what other successful, like say, self-published people are doing, and then kind of follow that route. But then I understand that your route's gonna be a little bit different at the end of the day. So
100%. It like they say when it comes to raising kids, it takes a village. It's the same
oh
thing when
yeah.
it comes to self-publishing.
That's a great way to put it. That's honestly like comes to my mind all the time when I'm doing this. Cause like just like a quick shout out to everyone, like to anyone who's helped me do it. Like you would not be able to do it alone. Like you would need advice and like learn from other people. So it does definitely take a village to get it out there.
That's one of the biggest lessons I learned too, is you definitely need to network and find mentors.
Oh yes.
Which do you like better, the self-publish or the traditional publishing?
I guess at the moment, like I would need a little bit more experience to give like a great answer to that. But I guess I would say it's 50-50. Because like with the publishing route, like I don't say you're more narrowed into like so you have a little less freedom, I'd want to say in some ways in terms of potentially what you're writing about. But then I guess like that's the reverse for the self-publishing is you can do anything. And which has its own like I guess not say issues that can pop up, but when you have the ability to do anything, it becomes difficult to be like, okay, what do I want to go with here for my design, art style, and all that. So I guess it's like two sides of the same coin. So
I
yeah.
totally agree. So this traditional publisher, you didn't write the summaries, they did all of that for you? Is that how this traditional publisher worked?
So actually, I did the summary for the traditional publisher route for it. I said it's more of
Oh,
just like a really short feature in it, so I guess it wasn't like as intensive. But yeah, sorry.
no, it's okay. I'm just trying to ask because I've had one book published with a traditional publisher. So I'm trying to see if there's differences because it was like a smaller publisher. So I've been
Mhm.
asking a lot of the authors that because it's very interesting to kind of see where things go. Because there's also vanity publishers that try to get your money and all that. So it's very interesting to kind of see.
Oh yeah.
But did you write that book first and then get the publisher, or did you get the publisher first?
So it was actually almost like the same exact time. It was kind of like a really lucky opportunity and situation where, like, as I was writing and self-publishing, like the next month or even like 2 weeks after my first one came out, is when I got in contact with the publisher. So it's kind of like, I guess, just good luck in some ways. Like, oh, like here's looking for some featured authors, and it's like, well, I guess kind of to your point of the networking and mentors and everything, it's like sometimes you got to like find your own route. And I was lucky enough to stumble across an opportunity with a friend of mine who's in the book as well. And I guess that's kind of where it went from there.
That's amazing. Are you more excited for this to come out than your other books?
It's hard. I guess like that's what's it does. I guess when they get released, it'll feel more real. But I guess like that's what I'm learning from this experience as well. Like, like as you're kind of waiting for the release for it, it's like you don't see the physical copy yet, and you know it's coming, you know it's there, and everything. I would say it's like honestly a 50-50 split because I guess between everything I've written, it's all very near and dear to me. Of where the like self-published stuff is more of I don't say like hobbies or stuff I enjoy writing about, but then the published work is kind of the story of the other books in a way.
Oh,
And so it's kind of like explaining like the creation of like the business that I was running, like the like writing the books and everything else, the creation of a project I'm working on called Strive Studio. And it was like that's the featured thing. So I'm really excited to share that with the audience of like, hey, this is from like day 1 to day 400. This is what we got done. But then for the other ones, like it's nice to be able to share what I'm passionate about. So I'd say it's another 50-50 there. So
That's so interesting. Do you have different things that you hope the readers take away from what's coming out next month compared to what you've published already?
oh yeah, and I think that's actually a great point. That's kind of honestly the gist of why like I write the way I do. Of where some of the best advice I got from coaching was like take what you need and leave what you don't. And because everyone's different, everyone has their own, say, life experience. That's kind of why I wanted to do a wide range of book topics as well. It's like if you're able to take one piece of advice from one of the things that I've written, then it makes it all worth it. And that's a really cool opportunity to be able to say, like, potentially help someone have a better day through just sharing an idea that I had. Not bad. So,
I really hope you go into psychology because I'm seeing so much more of this come out in the field, and especially everything's going on, but especially with the mental health part of the psych field, a lot more people are coming out with their own personal stories to inspire and uplift. And I think that's so ridiculously amazing. Was there a reason you wanted to do that rather than create your own story, your own world?
so I guess a quick peek is I am working on my own world. That one's just taking
Oh,
it's taking a lot longer than what I thought it was going to be. So
really? Tell us
yeah.
about that process, how it's different from writing the other ones. And then I want to hear a little bit more.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. So I guess like the biggest thing for it to me is like it's a lot of fun creating like a fantasy universe, but
Yeah.
it's kind of back to what I said, like when you can do anything and everything, it becomes difficult. It's like, well, how do I make a cohesive narrative story trying to be like science fiction, but also like mystery and yada yada. Like there's so many routes to go with it. But then it's also like, do I make a series from it? Do I just do a solo one? Like there's so many questions to answer, and especially too, I have a very vivid imagination, and I love say different like say movies, shows, books. Like the amount of references and everything I want to plug into the book as well as an homage. That's where it's like a couple month project is easily going to become a couple year one. So we'll see where that one goes. But I guess like that's kind of why I started with more of the self stories. Starting out is because it was a little bit more narrative. And so it's like instead of making because for example, I love the Witcher book series. Like instead of having to make an entire series like The Witcher or Game of Thrones, it's I can just talk about psychology, or I can just talk about coaching. And so I don't know. I like that aspect of it of like being able to be myself, share my story, turn what I've learned pro or con into a positive for everyone. And at the end of the day, like if I don't want to be writing about like a serious topic, then I have the ability to kind of like go spend my time on like the fun one in a way. So we'll see where it goes though.
That's amazing. So you find it more comfortable to write about what you know rather than
Yes.
make up your own stuff.
Mhm.
That's amazing. And this new one that's coming out, it's a novel or is it a short story?
So it's actually I don't want to say like my goal for it is like as a dream big is like almost like to try to be the next Game of Thrones and The Witcher combined. But it's one of those like it sounds great on paper, but how do you
Really?
do that? Yeah, very
I
ambitious.
was just thinking, like, how does that happen? 'Cause they're both incredible, but they're just so different.
The very and that's where it's like, how do I take the almost like that solo adventurous
Yeah.
story of The Witcher and then create more of an expansive universe to go along with it? And so if I can find the formula, then maybe that's the golden ticket here. But yeah, we'll see.
The popularity of both, I can definitely see like something like that combined being pretty incredible, if you can get that done. And
Exactly.
this is gonna be like a couple years thing you're looking at.
Yeah, so I actually have a whole series in mind for it at the moment. The
Oh,
name of the first one actually is called Children of the Eclipse. I'm trying to like play around with the name of it. That's the other like I guess back to the self-publishing thing. One of the hardest things ever is picking a name for a book.
yes,
I
yes,
don't
I
like for
agree with
anyone out
that.
there who's like whoever's like, what do I name it? Like there's so many different things. And the only reason I mentioned that is like I was stuck on like how do I start a series without knowing the theme of it? And that's why I landed on Children of the Eclipse. We'll see if it changes between now and when it's published. But yeah, so we'll see where that one goes.
That's amazing. I 100% agree with you. I always joke with people I'm terrible coming up with titles of books.
It was for me. It's like the same as the cover too. It's like, well, what cover art do I put with? Like, there's so many questions that you have to answer.
I
Like
agree
the best
completely.
advice I ever got for it was like keep it simple and make it stick. And I try to lean on that as much as possible. But then again, like who knows for anything I come out with the future, it might have some crazy title because you also want to catch eyes. So there's different ways to do that.
Exactly, I was actually, it's so funny because I was told with covers that you wanna catch eyes.
Yeah,
That I mean, I've done children's books so far. We'll see about the novels things, but with that, I've always been told to do something that catch eyes. But then, like, I interviewed an author last week, his cover was so simple, but it really caught your attention. So I think it just really depends on what works for you.
that's a great way of putting it. Oh yeah, it's like I guess
Yeah.
whatever audience you're going for, maybe, but then at the same time, though, it's like if it looks good, then it looks good, and people are gonna find what they like about it anyway. So
Exactly, when it comes to a novel, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, it could be the most simple thing in the world and still catch a lot of people's attention. But that is
exactly.
super exciting. How do you feel? Are you excited, more excited for that and when it could possibly be published than you were for your other books?
Um, that's actually a really tricky question on the fact. I guess it's like there's relief in getting stuff done,
Mhm.
and like you work on it enough, you're like, okay, thank goodness this is out the door finally. It's like you've looked at it so many times. It's like, all right, get out there, let's just see where it goes. But there's also the same, like, I guess it's not, I don't say anxiety as much. It's like when you're working those new projects, like the excitement, the motivation's there. It's almost like you're ending a journey comparing to starting a journey, and both have their pros and cons because it's like, oh, it's awesome to get that out the door. It's awesome to get it done. It's a relief to finally finish what I started. But then it's like, okay, let me turn around and do the same thing again. So, but at the same time, though, that's where all the motivation and when you get all like the inspirations coming out and everything, it's like, yeah, I just left for the like 7 day road trip. And it's on day one. You're gonna feel a little bit better on day one than maybe day 5 or 6. So we'll see.
Starting is always the hardest part. Do you get
Yes.
inspired at weird times or weird places?
It's painful. It is like I actually have that's honestly actually it's funny that you mentioned that because that's why I actually wrote the first book ever is like the Keep on Chopping book. It started with quotes. And so what I would do is like when I would be driving at a red light, I would be sitting there thinking. And if I ever randomly had like a quote or thought come to mind at that red light, I would write it down on a notepad. And then after doing that for about 3 or 4 months, I had like 20 pages of notes in my center console, and it's kind of how the creation of the first book happened. So, like to your point, yes. Or at the same time, like it could be like two. I feel like 2 a.m. at night is like apparently prime time for inspiration because you'll be sitting in bed and every good idea good idea, any idea you've ever had will come to mind. And it's like, well, I have to get it out now. I got to write it down so I don't forget it. But yeah, to your point, inspiration will come at the most random times or with the most random conversations that you have, or like art you see or nature. And it's like, oh, how do I remember this for when I need it? So,
I love asking that question for that exact reason. Because what if you're in the middle of a conversation? How do you write it down? If you're in the middle of something where you can't actually leave it, like at work or something like that,
oh,
that's
yeah.
in a notebook in your car. That's hilarious.
Well, it's like I always actually keep a notebook next to me just for this reason because I'll be like just doing something for work. I'm like, oh, let me jot that down. And half the
No
time, though,
phone.
I'll go back and be like, okay, that was just an but at least it's able to get out there and I don't know, I can move on from that thought.
I love the fact that you physically write in a notebook. No phone, no iPad, no computer where you can write on. You physically write in a notebook.
Honestly, my time playing football is what got me, is because like to be transparent, to stay awake in meetings back in the day, the only way I could stay awake for some of them is if I was like writing. Now it indirectly turned out to be a great thing of like you learn better through like physically writing it and everything. But I kind of just stuck with me. And so if I'm ever tired or if I'm ever whatnot, as long as I physically write it down, helps me stay awake, helps me remember it. So nice little bonus, I guess.
I totally agree because it took me forever to go from physically writing to writing in the computer. And now I just write stuff in my phone. But it's so nice to see that somebody actually physically writes. Like I have a pen obsession, I have a million pens.
We're
And
in
I
the
just,
same boat.
right? I'm literally looking at a pen right next to me. There's just something about physically writing that's so much better in a computer.
Oh
I was actually
yeah.
talking to my students the other day too.
Oh no, it's a great point. The biggest thing that it's like the my little cheat code I have is I have a little pin that scans my text. And so it's like I don't know what it's called. I wish I could plug it right now. But like if I have like say a paragraph written because it got so
Yeah.
annoying having to take the written down
Yeah.
text to the computer because like I'm double writing everything. It's kind of nice for editing, but if you have a lot written down, it's hard to do. But it's a little pin thing. I just scan the page and then it puts it on the computer like in a digital format. And so I just sit there and just like scan the notes, and then it transfers that page to like a digital page. So it saves me a little bit of time.
That's genius. Oh my goodness. I would so much rather do that than type on my computer. And I wonder if sometimes that's why I get like writer's block, because I'd rather like physically write.
Oh yeah, no, but it definitely helps unlock something, especially too. Like we spend so much time looking at screens. There's just something about like that mental difference of like screen to notebook. But
I totally agree. Is there anything about being an author that is super tough to you?
yeah, I used the short answer is yes to that one. I was trying to find like an optimistic, like, yeah, it's not. It, it is what you make it. But I guess like to me, and I guess it's a something I kind of just want to share for is like it sucks and then it doesn't. And I guess what I mean by that is like when you start out, you get so self-conscious, like you get so worried and so anxious, like, oh, what if people don't like what I write about? And like, what if it doesn't go well? And then once you just keep doing it, you kind of hit that point of like, it doesn't really matter. Like if it's good enough, people will read it. Even if they don't like it, someone will. I guess like that's what I've experienced the most out of this. It was a very like humbling moment when I released Keep on Chopping because I was like, oh, first book, let's go out there and get them. Everyone's gonna love it. And it got like 0 downloads for like a month. And it was like, okay. But that's what I kind of learned from that was like, okay, like just do better the next time. Like you're like, how do you remove the doubt, the anxiety, everything? Like just get better at what you're doing. And once I started getting better at what I was doing, like it was like the transitive property of like, oh, like more people are starting to read what I'm doing, the more I try to work on my craft. I think that was the cool thing about it to me, where like it was like that struggle, but it was like that it's like any other skill. It's like if I'm trying to become a chef, if I'm not cooking every day, then I'm not going to get better at being a cook. But if I'm writing every day, eventually I can get good enough. And the experience and time I put into like the craft starts to kind of push away the doubt, the anxiety, and everything else. So it's a journey. I'll put it that way. It's a journey to be an author.
100% it is. What is your favorite thing about being a published author?
I think honestly the fact I set out to do something and I did it, which I don't want to seem like superficial with or like egotistical. It's just more in the fact of like as a kid, like I loved reading books. Like like C.S. Lewis, like Tolkien, like just those two especially like really stuck with me. I always loved reading like the Lord of the Rings and the Chronicles of Narnia and all that kind of stuff growing up. And I was like, what? How do I be like my idols? How do I be like my heroes? And the fact on some scale that I'm able to be like, well, I'm not exactly C.S. Lewis, but I'm trying, that's kind of what it meant to me of like I went out, I did something I was trying to go do, and it's something that I enjoyed doing. It was a really cool experience to kind of have that happen.
And I think that's the message that you send out that kids need to hear today, because not that saying like my family or friends say anything, but you always hear growing up, you can't make money as a writer. It's really hard to break into, but if there's a will, there's a way. And it's so true. And I think that's what the message you're really sending to kids and adults is that, you can achieve that dream no matter what it takes. You just have to figure it out.
Exactly. I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. Like that's a amazing takeaway from that, and exactly what I was trying to, I guess, share there.
What does being a successful writer look like to you?
Now you're gonna bring out more of, like the psychology, philosophical side of me because it's like, well, how do you determine success? Now, I guess to me, it would be if I am happy with what I'm working on, of where I think indirectly that would lead to the success that I'm after. It's like that's kind of a pitfall that I had early on. I was like, oh, if I can go out and sell 100,000 books, that's my like benchmark for being successful. And then it was like, well, this is a lot. Like the personal journey of kind of understanding like it's not always about the numbers and the sales and everything else. It's like, how good is the product that you're making? How good is your writing? Like, if you want to feel like that fulfillment internally, like if you're doing something you're passionate about and you get better at it, that's to me when you'd really get successful at it. And everything, the accolades and everything else, the sales will come from there once you're able to perfect what you're doing. Almost like it's like on and off the field, like put in the hours in the weight room in the off season and all of that. And then you have the opportunity to maybe like hit it big one day. So
I totally agree with you because I think sales are a really big misconception to people. And I was even reading the other day about the New York Times bestseller list, how it's almost biased and it's not what people think it is. So I think you put it such a good point. It's really how it makes you feel. What does it do for other people? It's not necessarily about the numbers, but it's more about, you making that dream come true. And I think a lot of people go into being an author and publishing thinking about sales, and that's going to be what's going to make me successful. And I don't know about you, but I see on social media all the time these scammers putting up, I sold hundreds of thousands of bucks. I'm like, no, you didn't.
It's like anyone can actually write that.
Exactly.
I can sit here right now, but I've sold 1,000,000 copies of Keep on Chopping.
Yeah, like, you're completely trying to sell something to people, making them feel bad, because we always compare and stuff. But I love the fact that you're so positive about things, and I love the message that you send. And I think your books are amazing, and I'm definitely going to look them up because that's a little bit of a way I'm going. But we'll talk more about that after this.
Love it.
We have about 4 minutes left. Is there anything else you can tell us about characters from your book that you're writing, about the two kind of like mix of Witcher and Game of Thrones, or tell us anything else about next month's book coming out?
So I just to do a little bit of both here. So the next book I have coming out is called Tanrin, and Tanrin is I got really big into like Japanese culture and society the last like couple of months here, and so it's kind of an homage to I guess like just the culture in general because I really respect it. But it's also kind of a wrap on the last year of my life of where I've had the ability to learn a lot. So I wrote 3 books. I have the like the chapter that's being featured coming out as well. And so to me, it's kind of like the bow on the package a little bit of like take everything that you've learned so far and apply it to like your final product is that I'm coming out here with like on May 29th. So I'm really excited for that because I'm able to pull on more of the creative elements of the fantasy series that I'm talking about and trying to work that into more of like the informative. So it's kind of like the first blend of say like just informative meets creative. So we'll see how that goes. But in terms of the creative writing and more like the Witcher Game of Thrones thing, I'm trying to find the way to put it because thinking on it now, I actually have pulled in a lot of like manga and anime references as well. So it's a hodgepodge at the moment. Right now, it's like if you're cooking like a stew and it takes a moment
I
to
love
set,
it.
it's not set yet. Where there's so many ideas swirling around for it of where the final product's going to go. Yeah, I guess we'll see. I guess maybe that's the question that for the next interview that we have, we'll come back and discuss where the character development has gone for the fantasy book series. So
Oh, you totally have to come on when either you're close to that publishing or close to finishing it. 'Cause I'd love to talk about that more too, because it just sounds so interesting. Where can people find you? Where can people contact you? Your business as well. Do you want to talk about that a little bit more? We have about
yeah.
2 more minutes.
So actually, if you want to check out the books, I have them all available for an e-version or as an e-copy at the moment. They're actually all free too, because I kind of view it as more like practice work in a way of where it's like, let me get out there and like get my feet wet a little bit. So it's at phalanxdigital.net is my website. If you go to the store on it, they actually have the 3 books there. Check them out there. And that's the same for my business as well. If you want to learn a little bit more about what we do, it's again, phalanxdigital.net. If you want to check me out on social media, there is etucky19, ETUCKY 19. That's my IG. If you go through my Instagram, you'll be able to find like my bio link for say LinkedIn, X, Facebook, anything really. Go through my IG channel. And then while you're at it, check out Strive Studio on YouTube and on IG as well. I'm a co-founder with my good friend Sean Patrick, who's also an author, who actually has a children's book coming out, I think next month, called The
Please
Emotional
come on.
Shoes. Oh yeah, so we'll get him on next. So get him on
Yeah.
there. And so yeah, we got that. There's Strive Studio, phalanxdigital.net, and then Ethan Tucky. If you Google for LinkedIn, then the etucky19 for Instagram, you'll be able to find me. One of those options, you'll be able to track me down. So
That sounds amazing. Oh my gosh, I love your books and I cannot wait to check them out. I'm super excited for your whole world you're creating too. It sounds amazing. Definitely have to email me when the book comes out next month as well. Ethan Tucky, thank you so much for being here. Is there anything else, last thoughts you want to tell us before we finish up?
I just want to say thank you. I really appreciate you having me on this show and taking the time to have this conversation. And I guess until next time, I really do appreciate it.
Of course, you are awesome. I'm super excited. Thank you so much, author Ethan Tucky, for being here. I am Lisa Tchaikovsky with 7 Story Publishing. Thank you all.